Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of the First Gen Psychologist. In this series, we will be covering topics that destigmatize mental health, as well as topics for personal development and empowerment centered on the First Gen experience. I'm Dr. Lisette, aka the First Gen Psychologist. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I'm a First Gen Latina psychologist, leadership coach, speaker, writer, and today I'm your host. And today's topic is healing the mother wound. And we will be talking about this with the amazing Doctora Liliana Garcia, who is a light worker, psychologist, and healer, coach, and podcaster. So let me tell you a little bit more about Doctora Liliana before we get into it. So Liliana Garcia, who is a Boricua light worker, initially pursued a PhD in counseling psychology to provide healing services. However, she is now exploring her soul and intuitive abilities, seeking to redefine her identity by integrating her true self and diverse range of services. Liliana is not only the bilingual host of two podcasts, the Beyond Resilience Life and Licensed Psychologist Now What, but also a mother of two children who finds joy in travel and discovering new culinary experiences. Welcome, Doctora. I'm so happy to have you here with us today. How are you?
Well, I was going to say welcome, but thank you. Thank you. As you were reading that, I'm like, wow, I wrote that. Sometimes it's nice to hear what we write. So thank you for having me. I'm looking forward for this conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've known you for some time now, and you've been such an amazing inspiration to me. So it's even more of a special honor to share in this space with you today. And I'm excited and looking forward to learning from you and just learning more about healing the mother wound and I guess within the new perspectives that you've developed as well with the own healing work that you've been doing, it sounds like. Um, so let's just get straight into it. So just so that we can understand, what exactly is the mother wound and how does it manifest in the lives of individuals?
Yeah. So there's many definitions out there. I'm also writing a book that's the latest on this topic, and it's going to be in Spanish with Planeta Mexico, the editor. So how I see it, yeah, I'm like, ooh. How I see it is that it has to do. The mother wound is the wound that's been carrying from mothers throughout life, throughout generations, and sometimes it can look as the feminine wound or when we have been socialized as women in societies. And what I mean with that is the patriarchy, the toxic patriarchy, and all the systems of oppression that keep mothers and women and people that have been socialized as women oppressed and in a state that sometimes we become like a martyr or something like that. And then now we have daughters or people born with feminine genitalia, and we're like trying to hold them in the same light, because a lot of times we get the first institutionalized racism and all those experiences at home, not necessarily intentional by our parents, but they're just passing on so that way to protect us. And is that wound that happens from mother to daughter because of all of that, is that context. And how it manifests in individuals a lot of times is the expectations that daughters have that tend to be different. And I'm talking specifically in the Latinx and Latina culture, but it could be similar in other cultures, the expectations that are put on daughters, the differences and how we're being raised. And I did not have brothers, but I could definitely, see how maybe if I would have had a brother, it would have been different, because my father would say comments like, the girl is the one that stays home, the girl is the one that does this and that and that and that. And then we build resentment, but we handle it in different ways. So, and then it can show up with anger, that it a lot of times it's is well not deserved, but it's well explained and justified anger. And sometimes it could be also of just holding things and feeling like we have to do all these things for other people, putting ourselves last, not taking care of ourselves. And I mean, I can go on and on, but just an overview of what it is.
It makes me think a bit as I hear you talk about it of the value of Marianismo
Yes.
within the Latino Latinx culture, right? Where there's a sense of pride in serving others and being submissive to others.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's what I would
Marianismo.
say.
Yeah. Marianismo under this could be part of that mother wound. That's one way of representation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, and as you're talking, I was like, I have a brother. He's 6 years younger than me, and I think about, like, looking back, the differences in how we were raised, and but also the differences in expectations and sense of entitlement my brother would have around anything. Again, I said 6-year
Mhm.
gap, and that's important to me because at 12 years old, he was demanding that he would be allowed to go to the movies by himself with his friends because I was allowed to do that. I was 18, right?
Yeah,
But he's a boy. It's okay. He can do that. He would get
right.
dropped off. They would take care of it. We don't have to worry about you in the same way, right? But
Mhm,
for me, it's, oh, you need to be afraid of everything. And don't get me wrong, I definitely do think that we should all be mindful of our surroundings.
mhm.
But to see the differences in terms of how is it safer for a 12-year-old boy to do this than it would have been for me when you're just going to be dropping us both off at the movie theater and picking us back up, right? So it's a
Yeah.
very simple example, but it's something that I think back to.
Yes, and how I like to bring the context again about
Yeah,
oppression, about systems of oppression and poverty
yeah,
and all those things. A lot of it is has to do with, like, I think of even in my lineage, and I have
yeah.
people that were enslaved and what happened with kids. I know in Puerto Rico is a little different. It was different from the US. So kids, they were not, they could have become free. They were not, it was not passed on the lineage via the blood necessarily, but it was that
Yeah.
aspect of what happens to daughters. And a lot of times when moms, I know this is very psychodynamic, but it was like you had a boy and you're like, oh my God, my son. But then you had a daughter and it was like, and I think part of it is because of the fear, like she can go through what I went through and it's so painful. And I just have disconnected from the
Mm.
pain and I need to be tough.
Yeah, yeah, that really that resonates with me a lot too, as I think about, I'm not a mother myself, but I've always thought about, you know, I heard as a kid, "Oh, you just want your when you have babies, you want them to be healthy." But I know that I have a bias towards men. I know I have a small bias towards wanting a son for the reason that you just said, right? For that moment, right? And I have awareness of that, and it's constantly having to check that for myself,
Mhm.
because people are always surprised when I say that, but it's exactly what you said. It's well, I
Mhm.
think of how challenging it can be in the world to exist as a person who looks like me. And I
Mhm.
think, and I see how, you know, there were less challenges or barriers for my brother or for other people. And I think, well, don't we want an easier life for the kids, right?
Right. Right, right.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my mother wound, right?
Yes,
That's my,
yes.
yeah,
And then there's also can be about the relationships that we have with our mothers. There's a lot of
yeah,
mothers that because of and that's why I like to bring the context, but a lot of times
yeah,
the mothers are not caring or there's a lot of things of what it's said of what a mother should be. And then if you don't
yeah,
have that mom, that unconditional love, la criticona that is always judging you if you're fat, if you're not, if you're eating too much, if you're not eating too much, if you're at school or
mhm,
not, and all these things that happen because of and how I see it is because of all this underlying hurt that we've been carrying that
yeah,
we haven't been able to express or even recognize, and then we just project it to our daughters. And then our
yeah,
daughters take it personal because they're like,
exactly,
there's something wrong with me. So then what they
yeah,
do, it continues to go on because as kids, we are not able to recognize it's not us,
yeah.
it's them.
No. It's like the 4 agreements. I don't know, have you had it's
Yeah.
exactly that exact example, like that agreement where we've internalized this. And so as we talk about this, would you say are some common emotions or experiences? Because we're speaking to it briefly, but that
Mhm.
maybe some first gen individuals might feel in relation to the mother wound. And first gen, in this context, I'm speaking mostly to children of immigrants, but could also be immigrants themselves.
I mean, that in itself is a very specific niche that will have a very
Yeah,
particular experience that
yeah.
definitely you can speak more. But in general, is that aspect of what happened? Like, was there an ability? How was the relationship of mother
Mhm.
child impacted by
Yeah.
immigration, by being a
Mhm.
first gen? And then if we add the factor of mother daughter, then that
Mhm.
as well. So, and
Yeah.
some of the common experiences, it could be this sense of
Yeah.
wanting to get the approval from our mothers,
Mhm.
wanting to be seen. So
Yeah.
sometimes you can become like you are not yourself, so you can follow the expectations of your mom so they can be
Mhm.
happy. And that way you get some kind of recognition, but then you lose yourself. You don't be, or if you want to go in the path that you're yourself and you give boundaries and all these things to your mom, then you're being put as you're daughter, and there's a lot of expectation what is a
Yeah.
daughter in the first in the immigrant
Yeah.
community. So those are some of the things,
Yeah.
and then getting confused and being like, wait, and wanting, and to be recognized, be loved, and sometimes how
Yeah.
that looks, it could be even in relationships. Then we're seeking that love that we didn't receive, that experience of nurturing. We don't nurture ourselves. We don't take
Mhm.
care of ourselves. We look for a partner that does us and fulfill that void. So those
Yes.
are some examples.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was thinking a lot about just the general guilt that I often hear from the folks who I'm working with. First gen often experience guilt, right? So it's guilt related to, I'm having a better life and than my parents,
Yeah.
which is the point, which is
Yes.
why they came, right? But somehow we feel guilty for that,
Yes.
right? And then the added dynamics between that mother-daughter relationship to that, right? So you're already coming from a place of guilt.
Mhm.
So then it feels uncomfortable to feel even anger towards the
Right.
not having what you want, right?
Right, because it's your mom, and you're not supposed to feel angry at your mom because that means that you're not being
Yeah.
a good daughter.
Yeah.
It's like you're
The
against,
cycle.
they say like entre la espada y la pared, like you're against the wall. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing. It's like sometimes it feels like you cannot escape. You're either gonna suffer
Mhm.
because they're not gonna approve you, or you're gonna suffer because you're not approving yourself. It's kind of like, yeah, it can be really hard.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know that saying. I think, the one I've heard in English is like between a rock and a hard place. You're
Mm.
just there, and like entre ¿cuál era en español?
Entre
La
la
pared,
espada y la pared.
la espada y la pared. A
Mhm. Like
sword and
somebody has a
yeah,
sword against you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Against the
is
wall.
that
Yeah, and you're
mm,
there. And it just feels like whatever decision you make isn't the right one. But
right.
that's all coming from the space of, like, I think you highlighted this. It's we are trying to mold ourselves. We're trying to people please. And this path of finding yourself is realizing we can move the sword out of the way, right? The rock
Mhm,
is not stuck. We
mhm.
can step over it. There's
Yeah,
other ways to move through it. But in the moment, our mindset can get so we've developed so many limiting beliefs and so many barriers that we don't see it.
mm,
We don't see it in it's right in front of us. Um,
yeah,
so so for
yeah.
folks who maybe are wanting to learn how to begin to heal this wound, and so
Mm.
I know that this is why I said it's like begin healing. Let me be
Uh-huh.
clear. Let me be clear. It's like any tips or strategies that you give now, I'm not under the assumption that this is going to heal everyone's mother wound, right? But how do we
Right, right.
start to look into that,
Mhm,
right? Like this is a like I mentioned, I think I tend to self-disclose here a bit because I think if I am in this field and there's still so much work that I'm actively doing and need to do, right? So we share this because it's a lifelong journey. We're healing generations of trauma. We're healing generations of beliefs that of limiting beliefs, or how would I say it? Just like ingrained they have been ingrained in us for so long that it will take so much longer than that for us to heal. And when I think of healing and the intergenerational healing, yes, we have tools that we have from our ancestors, and all we can do is create more tools so that our descendants can have more of those. Because I don't
mhm.
actually know that we can heal everything in
Right,
like I don't
right.
know that I can heal everything in my lifetime. I think that's already too much to ask for of me, right?
I agree
So
with you, and there's a lot of movement
yeah, yeah,
having that expectation. That is a very
yeah.
unreal expectation. But some
Mhm.
of the things I think to start, I like to think of 3 areas
Mhm.
that are important or that could be helpful. One of them is that working with our inner, like reparenting ourselves.
Okay.
Because a lot of times if we didn't get the mother that we wanted, that we saw in the movies, and then if you're in the US, then you're seeing all the different types of mom, and you can kind of, and the grass is always greener on the other side, so you can kind of like idealize other
Mhm.
moms that are a little different. So kind of like working with that inner child healing, so you can reparent and become the nurturing mother that you needed, the
Yeah.
in whatever qualities. If it's unconditional love, is
Mhm.
to start with you. And then the other
Yeah.
thing is then working on healing that those expectations that we put on our mothers, whether they're alive or they're not, they're still,
Yeah.
it's like a bond that it's really hard to break, even if they're not here. Sometimes people, like their parents they don't even have communication with them, and they still feel like they're ruling their lives because they still feel the guilt and all
Yeah.
this. So like, how do you work with working on healing what happened, accepting what is, and then
Yeah.
not having expectations on the future and trying to build a new relationship,
Yeah.
even if it is building a strong boundary with them, but that could be the new relationship that you're not expecting them to give you or to approve you or to all those things, so you can approve yourself. That's why that reparenting is so important. And then the third thing, I like to bring nature into it. And I know we both love plants. Is
Yeah.
that aspect of whether it's nature's or if you want to connect with some spirituality of that, how like touching and connecting with that sense of nurturing and those qualities that we wanted and we need, because we all need unconditional love and those qualities in nature or in spirituality. So there's a bigger picture, a bigger sense of, and if we connect with nature, I think in a way is like, how is nature nurturing us, giving us food, being unconditional there? Even, I mean, that is a complex thing because how we're treating nature is
Right.
horrible, but it's all these pieces of how they're there so you can connect with the bigger sense that you're not alone and you're being taken care of. So, and healing the relationship we have with Mother Earth, it's
Yeah.
huge because we don't care about it. That's the aspect. And the more we do that, then we can change those future generations. Then we have a different perspective for moms. Because moms are and that mothering figure, it's so crucial in
Yeah.
attachment in so many things.
Oh my goodness, so much, right? Like I think our whole world is shaped by that relationship, at least in all the theories that we learned in our education, right? It's that attachment that we have to our moms, the behaviors, they're molded through our immediate environment and how we navigate that. So on the bottom, I tried to take a few notes on what you were sharing. It's I summarized it as best as I could, but
Yeah.
just as a reminder, so it's like when you're beginning to do this healing work, a lot of it starts with being very introspective and thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
how do we begin to reparent ourselves? Within that, it's what were the needs that we didn't feel were met when we were younger, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and with that, I always find leaning into trying to be more playful because I'm the eldest daughter. And
Yeah.
as the eldest daughter, I felt that I carried so many adult responsibilities very early on. And so
Mhm.
now I'm the silly one. Now I'm like, no, I want to go do this. This sounds fun. It's like my age
Mhm.
does not stop me from doing things. I mean, it's like, oh, Mike, you be too old for that? No, I'm not too old for that. I'm still gonna go to that music festival. I'm still gonna go dancing. I'm still gonna
Mhm.
go, out on this walk or whatever, and it's gonna make me very happy. Um, the healing expectations that we placed on our mothers, I think that one, as I heard you speak on it, right? It's how we experience our world is based on how our assumption expectations of those
Yeah.
around us,
Yeah.
right?
And putting in perspective, because that's the piece. Because as kids, we took it personal. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah,
But from an
yeah,
adult perspective of being like, oh, wait, my mom, especially first gen, what did your mom went through?
yeah,
Are they the first one in their family to raise kids alone?
yeah,
All those things is putting in perspective that it's, and that's why I love the phrase, what's mine, what's yours. So you can start separating and show a little understanding for your mom, not to justify, not to like make things right, and it's not that, it's just some kind of understanding, and
mhm,
perhaps even some compassion that maybe they
yeah,
did what they could, not even using the
exactly,
word the best, they did what they could, and it's not
yeah,
personal to you, that's just
no,
them.
yeah,
And that's so important. And then think about how we're treating women and mothers in the US. Horrible.
yeah,
Not even I mean, that's another subject, but
no,
because
no,
yeah.
I
But it's
can't.
like we're mothering alone with yeah, so many yeah, that's another that's another bigger
No, no, it is. I was like, we could do another conversation on that, just generally, because as I hear you talk about that second part, the healing expectations we place on our mothers, I something that I often say in my work is, we can understand it, but it doesn't excuse it, right? We can
right,
understand
right.
it, we can have compassion for it, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you have to say like, oh, it's okay that it happened.
Right.
It
Right.
it happened, and that's
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
and I'm here to change it. And the last one I think is a newer one to me, but I think it's natural to me to want to connect
Mhm.
with nature. But I love the healing the relationship with Mother Nature and
Mhm.
what that means, what that looks like, and especially in I think this time where I mean, we're doing this over the internet, right? We're doing this over like we're not in real life. It's like, but it's still a way to connect. So I don't want to. I love being able to connect with folks. Like you're on the other side of the country right now, and I
Mhm.
love that I can
Yes.
have this conversation with you. Um, but sometimes we can get so sucked into, our screens, our computers, our phones, or whatever it is, that, we forget to even look outside. We just step outside, and to be able to go outside, step on fresh grass, like barefoot, is such a grounding experience, and it's so beautiful. I think we forget how powerful that can be, and to regulate us when we're feeling so overwhelmed by emotions. So
That it's huge because there's a symbiosis, or
yeah,
it's a give and take
yeah,
relationship. We
yeah,
see nature as there, but it's when you interact with it, it changes. That's
yeah.
why the people that have plants, probably you talk to your plants, and probably you interact with it and give the attention. And that's why people go like, "Oh, I don't have a green thumb." I wonder if they would do that. They would have to vote and be like, "Oh, there's a new leaf here,"
Oh
because
yeah,
it's a reciprocal, and then that's how
yeah,
we learn also to receive, because mother is
right.
also, there's the archetype, or there's that experience of being able to receive. You give and you receive. So
Yeah. No, I love that you said that. I was like, I have one plant I got that was a little baby, and it has grown 3 leaves. I know exactly how many leaves it has
yes.
grown since I've got it, because it was so tiny, and I was like, I want to make sure I keep this alive, and I'm always checking it, and it's a monstera,
Oh, I love
like
those.
that one, and it's a
Yeah.
Thai constellation one, so it has all the white spots.
Oh,
And
love it.
so every time there's a new one unrolling, I'm like, will this one be have like the little holes in it? I'm forgetting what that's called right now, but I am
Um,
always like looking and excited, and so that's
yeah.
the
It's
relationship
being
with
able,
nature.
yeah, it's a reciprocal. And if you wouldn't give
Yeah,
attention, then it won't be growing that way. And the same
no,
with the food that we receive. It's like when you're
yeah,
eating, that comes from nature,
yes,
even the
yes,
animals and anything. So like being showing that great gratitude and receiving. So you're
exactly.
not disconnected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This has been such a
Mm,
wonderful conversation, Doctora. And so what I'd
likewise.
like to learn more now, yes, is how can we support you and your work?
Yes. So right now, I am in that journey of process of writing a book about this topic in itself. I did a book club. Right now, what I'm feeling it's perhaps reach out to me, because one thing that I'm definitely wanting to do is like create like a group or something for daughters that have been ostracized, or like they don't have a relationship with their mom for many reasons, and many of them are really good reasons to not necessarily, but how to work with that, because that is a very different than someone that has it. So reach out to me via Instagram is the best way. And then the beyondresilience.live.com, that website has information. I did a retreat. I'm going to do another one next year as
Yeah.
well in Puerto Rico. So all those information about all those kind of services that are not therapy are in the Beyond Resilience Live. And yeah, so
Yeah, no, amazing. And so you now I know I've been wanting to go. I think you had the one in Puerto Rico next year. Can you remind me when the dates are? I remember seeing it, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can make
well, we
this
haven't
work.
announced it, but I'll announce it here.
Oh, okay, we can wait, we can wait. I can wait.
You guys are you're all
We get
exclusive.
to hear it first.
Yes, you get to hear it first. It's gonna be
Exclusivo.
May 1
Right.
through 4th.
Ooh,
Right
so
before
next
the
year.
Mother's Day. The week, it's the week right before, yeah, so there's
Right.
that weekend, and
Ooh,
then the
that's a
following is
powerful
Mother's
time.
Day. So, it was not planned about the mother piece, it was but it's gonna be perfect in the timing and whoever is being called. But very
Yeah.
soon we're gonna, I don't know when this, airs, it's gonna show up, but just reach out,
Yeah.
because we're
Yes.
definitely excited to do it again.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. So if people are interested in that, make sure you reach out to Doctora Lidiana. You can follow her on her Instagram at Doctora, is it Dr. period Lidiana Garcia. It's right here under her name. Or you can go to the website, the Beyond Resilience Life. So thank you again, Doctora, for being here with me. Again, such an honor to have you here.
Honor is mine. Thank you for opening and being able to have this discussion, because I know it's a kind of a newer topic. And so,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm here for. This is what I love, just talking and beginning. It's like normalizing these conversations, normalize as we're learning and expanding our like knowledge and worldviews, right? And we, I think, have both been called into healing professions, and we're just trying to figure out how do we heal, how do we help others heal, and how to what's the best way that's most aligned for us as we're doing that. I think, and
Exactly.
so it's beautiful to see you find your way of
Mm,
healing that is in most alignment with what you want versus what
mm.
society has expected of us for so
Right.
long.
this is my way of healing my mother when
Yeah,
yes,
that's what
yes,
we're doing. That's
yes,
amazing.
because yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, another talk, another talk. But anyway, that's it.
Another
Thank
talk.
you all. So thank you everyone who joined us
Mhm.
today live. If you're watching the replay, then that's amazing. Please share with anyone who you think may benefit from this. These episodes will go live every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for as long as I can do them. And so again, thank you all for being here. And please make sure you go and follow Doctora Liliana on Instagram.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye everyone.
Bye.